I just played 8 cozy games. There's a nice mix of survival crafting, farming, storytelling, and platformers. Some of these games had me hooked for hours on end, and while others had me questioning all of my life choices. Hi, I'm LochVaness, and if you're into honest cozy game reviews, make sure to subscribe so you never miss out on another cozy game review. Today, we're going to be talking about what's worth your time and what's better left on the wishlist graveyard. For each game, I'll tell you what it is, what it does well or not so well, and whether you should buy it or skip it. Let's get into it. We're going to kick things off with a game that had me switching between cozy farming and full-out dungeon brawls, Lens Island. It dropped on June 19th for $30, and it blends survival combat and chill island vibes all in one big adventure. This is an open-world survival crafting game that blends action RPG combat, dungeon crawling, farming, building, and exploration all into one game. It's got a little bit of everything, and you get to decide how you want to play. You can build a cozy island home and spend your days farming, and you can dive into dangerous dungeons filled with monsters and loot. The world is procedurally generated, so every playthrough feels fresh. There's even a multiplayer option for up to 8 players. One thing this game does really well is give you options. I loved being able to jump between peaceful farming and intense combat depending on my mood. The developers added a cozy mode that allows the enemies to be less challenging. I use this often when I just wanted to gather and build without worrying about being attacked at night. The quest system is pretty smooth and the story progression felt just natural. It never felt like I was grinding just to grind. Now the visuals are really beautiful in this game. The lighting and atmosphere just make the whole island feel alive. Plus, being able to play with friends adds a bit of charm. I personally have not yet been able to play this game with any friend, but the game can also feel overwhelming, especially at first. There's a lot to manage, from building and crafting to surviving and fighting. There's a lot. Even in cozy mode, the combat can still feel a little bit stressful at times. So if you're someone who doesn't love micromanaging resources or navigating multiple gameplay systems at once, it might be a little bit much. I also found the learning curve was pretty steep, especially in those early hours of the game. Now, after 3 hours, I was honestly really vibing with the building, the gathering, but the combat had me on edge a majority of the game. So thank goodness they had a cozy mode. Now, I would definitely say buy it if you love survival crafting with a bit of action and don't mind juggling the combat, the farming, and the resource management. And definitely skip it if you're looking for a non-stress cozy game, or if the combat just stresses you out. If you ever want to see some gameplay of these games, I play them live every week right here on this channel, so subscribe to know when I go live next. Okay, listen, this is technically not a whole new game, but I honestly couldn't leave this one out. Luma Island dropped a new expansion called Pirates. It is a free expansion and from my 2024 game of the year, and yep, it definitely reeled me right back in for more. The pirate vibes, the new profession, and a reason to start a whole new file? Yes, say less, I'm so down. Now, the expansion introduces a brand new private zone filled with themed content, plus a new profession that you can choose from the start. I decided to start a whole new file just to experience everything fresh. That might not be necessary, but I liked being able to go through it with all the knowledge I picked up from my first run. The new profession fits the pirate theme really well and adds more variety to how you play. What I loved most is that it still has the same charm and gameplay loop that hooked me the first time around. It's cozy, satisfying, and easy to sink hours into without even realizing it. The world just feels so alive, and the new content gives returning players a really good reason to come back. I really appreciated that the devs didn't just abandon the game and are still adding free updates for everyone. Now, my biggest complaint that I've seen, and honestly it's totally valid, is that this game is so grindy, like really grindy. Some people will definitely bounce off of it for that reason, but for me, I kind of loved the grind. It gave me that peaceful rhythm that just makes cozy games feel a little bit like some therapy. Now, I already sunk over 80 hours into this game last year, and the expansion just gave me every reason to dive back in. Yes, it's grindy, but for me, that grind was honestly half of the fun. I definitely will say buy it if you love the base game and just want something a little bit pirate themed. I would say skip if you can't stand grind heavy gameplay or just need something more hands-on from the start. Now for something super chill, Ship Inc. is what I play when my brain needs a little break, but I still want to feel productive. Think of a cozy UPS simulator. It released on June 23rd for $10, and yes, packing boxes honestly has never felt this satisfying. It is a low-stress game where you run your own shipping company, packing up boxes, managing supplies, and keeping customer orders flowing smoothly. It's got pretty simple mechanics, calming visuals, and just enough structure to keep your brain engaged without feeling overwhelmed. The game is perfect if you're looking for something to play when you need to wind down. There's just this real sense of satisfaction in getting the orders packed efficiently and just keeping up with the demand. I liked how easy it was to jump in and start working, no complicated tutorials or high-stake goals. It's cozy in that productive but peaceful kind of way. Kind of like organizing your closet or making a to-do list just to check things off. That said, it's very simple. The gameplay doesn't change much as you progress. You'll be doing the same basic tasks in each game day, which some people might find a bit repetitive. There's no story, no real surprises, and no deep systems to uncover. And if you need plot twist or just some complex gameplay loops, this one might feel a bit shallow to you. Now, after 90 minutes of playing, it gave me exactly what I needed. Some low effort, high satisfaction vibes. Now, I definitely would say buy it if you want a cozy sim to wind down with after a really long day. Think kind of like unpacking, but instead you're being UPS. I would say skip it if you just don't care for the repetitive gameplay and you're just craving something more. All right, the next one is totally caught my eye with its cultural flair and animal wrangling twist. Gaucho in the Grassland is a story-driven adventure game that released on July 16th for $20. You play as a young animal wrangler exploring a vibrant world inspired by the South American culture. The game blends narrative, light resource gathering, and animal interactions as you help out your community and uncover the story piece by piece. What immediately stood out to me was the setting in this game. It is not every day you see cozy games representing different cultures and landscapes and traditions, and that representation felt really refreshing to see. The art style was warm and charming and very lighthearted, and the story definitely had me invested. The animal wrangling mechanic is a fun twist and really gives the game a bit of flair. That said, I didn't feel as connected to the world as I wanted to be, and I think part of that is because I'm not very familiar with the culture that it's drawing from. I really would have loved to see the game go deeper in sharing its roots and maybe through more dialogue, context, or just some more in-game lore. As it stands, the cultural elements felt more like a backdrop than something that I was truly immersed in. I wanted more than just surface level references. I really wanted to understand the world that I was in. Now, the gameplay itself leans heavily into grinding and resource collection, which started to feel so repetitive after a while. I also ran into a handful of bugs like animals flipped over by the beach or getting stuck in the terrain, and just random glitches that really broke the immersion. Those issues combined with a slow pace made it harder for me to stay invested long term. Now, I played this game for around 8 hours. I totally respected what the game was going for, and I think that it has a lot of heart, but it didn't quite click with me the way I hoped it would. And I had left wishing it had gone a bit deeper in both the gameplay and the cultural storytelling. Plus, honestly, the grind in this game just was not worth it for me. I would say buy it if you're all about narrative heavy games and don't mind a little bit of jank and a lot of grinding, and skip it if you need polished gameplay or just get really frustrated when games start to feel like a chore. Now let's talk chaos, but make it a little bit wholesome. Geek is a co-op adventure game that released on June 16th for $8. The main goal, well, you work together with your friends to climb your way through a colorful biomes and reach the very top of the world, like literally. Along the way, you'll encounter quirky items, wild obstacles, and moments of chaos that will either bring your group closer together or just totally wreck your friendships in the funniest way possible. This game has such a charming and silly vibe, and I loved how unpredictable it felt. Each biome was visually distinct distinct and add something new to the experience, whether it's the icy cliffs or floating platforms or just strange environmental hazards. One of my favorite parts was the voice comm system. If your friend dies and becomes a ghost, their voice gets distant and echoey, like they're haunting you from far away. It's hilarious and honestly made the whole thing feel more immersive. The gameplay is all about platforming, item collection, and teamwork. You can find helpful tools or total useless junk, and it's just up to you to figure out what's worth carrying. The tension of falling is real though. If you make it super far and fall off the map, you're starting from the bottom all over again, and that can be incredibly painful. It's definitely one of those high risks, high reward games where progress feels earned but not guaranteed. Now, that level of chaos might not be for everyone. It definitely can get a bit frustrating, especially if you're not a fan of starting over or if platforming really stresses you out. Now, a lot of the charm definitely comes with the interactions with friends, and the game is clearly designed around that specific experience. Now, I played a few hours with my friends and it had me laughing and just celebrating the tiniest wins. It's the kind of game that you play for memories, not for the deep mechanics or story. I definitely say buy this one if you love laughing through the chaos with your friends and don't mind starting over a few dozen times. Definitely skip it if losing progress makes you rage or you just prefer more solo adventures. If you ever wanted to crawl through a forgotten world that feels like a dreamy Game Boy fever dream, Everdeep Aurora is calling your name. With its moody pixel art and the beautiful soundtrack, this one is a slow burn that definitely sticks with you. Everdeep Aurora dropped on July 10th for $20. It's a platformer that's all about exploration and mystery wrapped in a stunning retro art style. Think of it like a love letter to old school Game Boy games, but with modern polish and a hauntingly beautiful soundtrack that really sets the mood. The core gameplay revolves around classic platforming, jumping, dodging, and navigating tricky levels while uncovering secrets and piecing together the world's story. The visuals really stole my heart. The pixel art was detailed, atmospheric, and the music is just beautiful. It really draws you into this strange and magical world. That said, the game is not for everyone. The platforming can really be tough, especially if you're like me and just struggle with timing or precision. The start felt a bit confusing because the game doesn't immediately tell you your goals or what you're supposed to do. If you want instant direction and a clear path, this one could be a bit frustrating. There was moments where I wanted to rage quit because the platforming definitely challenged me way more than I expected. But once you kind of get into the groove of it, the sense of discovery and unraveling the story really keeps you hooked. It's a game that rewards patience and exploration. Now, if you love retro-inspired games with a moody vibe and don't mind a bit of a learning curve, this one is definitely worth checking out. But if platformers frustrate you or you want something more straightforward, this one might not be your cup of tea. So buy it if you're into retro-inspired platformers and love piecing together atmospheric stories, and skip it if you hate unclear objectives or just platforming makes you want to throw your controller, because same. Now, this one is for you cozy gamers who love a little science with their sunshine. Research Story is a $14 farming sim with a twist. Instead of planting crops, you're researching plants and animals to help a whole town thrive. It was released back on July 21st. Now, this game blends the comfort of traditional farming games with the satisfaction of discovery and learning. You're tasked with helping a small town by observing the ecosystem, writing research notes, and slowly unlocking more of the world and its secrets. What really stood out to me is how the game encourages curiosity. It's not about min-maxing a farm or speed-running profits. It's all about noticing small details and learning how certain species interact and filling out a beautifully illustrated research journal. There's a quiet joy in figuring out what a plant needs to thrive or how you get a rare creature to show up. The vibe is slow, intentional, and really wholesome. That said, if you're someone who prefers fast-paced gameplay or heavy mechanics, this one might feel a bit too relaxed. The progression can feel slow, especially in the early hours when you're still unlocking basic tools and systems. Like, it took me a while to get used to what each plant needed, and that got pretty tedious fast. Still, if you're the kind of player who loves to collect, observe, and unwind, these little things may not bother you at all. I would say buy it if you like a laid-back gameplay with a little sciencey discovery twist, or skip it if you you want deep farming mechanics or a more traditional sim structure. And finally, let's wrap it up with something tiny but mighty. Misc, A Tiny Tale is a story-rich adventure that dropped on July 31st, and it's all about exploring, cleaning up the world, and soaking in the kind of cute that makes your heart do a little dance. You play as Buddy, a tiny robot with a huge heart, exploring a world made out of everyday objects. Think bottle cap platforms, sponge mountains, and tin can bridges. It feels a lot like Pickman meets Captain Toad with a hint of Wall-E in the storytelling. The game really shines in its world design. Everything is crafted to make you feel small in a big world, and that sense of scale adds so much personality to each level. The platforming is smooth and simple, with a light puzzle solving and exploration scattered throughout the game. It's not overly complex, which honestly works in its favor. The game is accessible for younger players or those looking for something low stress. What I loved most is how emotionally sweet the game is. There's no combat, no timers, no pressure, just a heartfelt journey where you can help others find hidden secrets and enjoy the tiny details. The soundtrack is cozy, and the little robots you meet along the way are adorable and full of personality. Now, on the downside, the camera controls can feel a little bit clunky, especially in the tighter areas. Now, after 2.5 hours and getting up to chapter 3, which there's either 8 or 9 chapters, I believe, I am honestly in love with the wholesome vibes and the cute storytelling. It's light, charming, and has just one more level kind of feel to it. I would say buy it if you're craving a sweet story-driven game with exploration and cleanup vibes, or skip it if you need more complex systems or just full sandbox freedom. Now, that wraps it up for all of the games I played recently. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite game you played recently, and I hope that you found this video helpful and it gave you some insight on whether these games were for you or not. If it did, be sure to like and subscribe for more cozy game reviews, and until next time, so happy gaming!